and a sign of the community's growth, a sign of the leadership they've got there. It's a very positive kind of thing. Some stuff that's coming up on the 24th, Board Nimona, which is our group that manufactures the peat systems that are going in now. They're going to come into the watershed and do a training for installers and sanitarians sort of in the bigger Charleston, Huntington, Clarksburg region. We've got 19 people who are coming into that, so I think that'll be a real positive kind of thing, because we found that a lot of installers really don't understand these new systems, as well as sanitarians not understanding them, so there can't be proper oversight. So that's going to happen.
Where will that take place?
It will take, we're going to be in the Left Fork. We'll be at Gary Cooper Sr.'s house, which is where Left Fork Road and Flat Creek come together. And what we're going to be doing, that was one of the homes where we had some water problems and the pipes separated from the peat system. So we're going to be redoing that system, and as we redo it, we're going to talk about proper installation kinds of things. And unlike some of our other technology groups, Board Nimona has really stepped up. They're taking care of all the costs for this. They're not charging us anything. It's great that they're willing. They will, when they do Gary Cooper Seniors, the next be Gary Cooper Juniors, so there'll be 3 systems that they completely redone for us that had some problems due to problems with the installers, but they felt that they hadn't given proper oversight. So
It's a good business plan.
I think it's a real good business plan. The other thing that's going to happen, and I'll talk about that a little later, is that there is more money from DEP to put in more drain systems. So we talked to the community about it, and one of the thoughts is that they felt in order to get more people, we ought to have not just evening meetings, but we ought to have daytime meetings, because there's some people who work evenings. So starting in September, our monthly meeting, we're going to have an 11 o'clock in the morning meeting and a 6:30 in the evening meeting, just to try to reach folks. So we'll see what happens with that. One of the concerns is, you know, we need commitments from people, and if they don't know what's happening, they won't be able to do it. So I'll let you know how 2-a-day meetings go. The next thing you've got is a list of the green projects. These are the 19 homes that the DEP has approved. 12 of them, the systems are installed. Some of them don't have the reclamation of the ground done, you know, picking up the rocks and the grass stream. We've got 7 that are not started yet. Plus, remember that DEP added a contingency amount to the budget that we had planned was going to be there. So at our last community meeting, we drew names out of a hat for the possibility of another home to be the 20th one. And Lydia Sue Lambert was the name that we drew out. She lives on Flat Creek. So we'll be working with DEP to get their blessing to go ahead and add her as the 20th home to the project. And the thought is that all of these are going to be done by the end of October, the very beginning of November. Next page shows you some tributary sampling. We're continuing to do that. This is sampling the creeks to see how the E. coli content is in the creeks. Because one of the hopes with the project was that if we put in these newfangled wastewater systems, it would clean up the creeks. And if you look, it starts on the left-hand side with the oldest sampling and goes to the right-hand side with the most recent. Most recent one was the beginning of this month. We had some high readings. One of the things that plays into this is that when we're measuring E. coli, it's not just human E. coli, it's from animals too. So this is a rural area. You've got horses and cows that are not fenced in. So they're in the creek sometimes. You got dogs, you got geese, you have deer. It's encouraging that some of these sites are showing some pretty good readings. We're looking at anything under 200. as a good reading. And so if you look down, or if you look up 3 from the bottom at the site at Collins' home, that's where we have 7 homes above his place that have new systems. This last reading, it was 108, so that's real positive. We had a couple high ones, so now it's down again. My hope is we'll continue to see it going down. So I think the fact that that site, especially where we have systems in a row, I think we can say that it looks like by putting in these systems that we're definitely improving the health of the creeks. The next page is a different kind of water sampling. Some of these systems are direct discharge, which means that the effluent from the system dumps into the creek. And so we want to make sure that that is not polluting the creek more than it was being polluted before. And we had in the past with the EPA project some high readings. These are all homes, except for Chris Campbell's, which were put in with the green project. And as you look down there, out of all of them, one is Chris's, where we had a high reading back in April, and that sort of led us to fixing his system. And the other that has a high reading is also in April, and that's Bubby Pauley's, and that was right after it was installed. So and since then, he's had good readings. So the thought is that it really takes these systems a little while to get working properly before they correct the problem. The other thing that I think is important about this is when we were having high readings with the EPA, and when we brought all the installers to the table a couple of Decembers ago, there was all this discussion about maybe the high readings are the fact that you're not taking the samples right, or the pipes are too long. So one of the things we did was we installed an extra sampling port right after the UV light. You've got your septic tank, you got your peat system, you got your UV light, and then you've got this pipe that leads to the creek. And we'd always been taking the sample right where it went in the creek. There was some thought that maybe you had stuff growing in the pipe that was causing the problem. So what we did was we're taking now, right after the UV light, we're taking a sample. So where it says Stephen Barb Hess port and Stephen Barb Hess direct, the port's right after the UV light, and the direct is at the end of that pipe that goes into the creek. And for both of those places, the Hess home and the Adkins home, where we've got a port, we found that in both cases we've got the same reading. The Hess home, the pipe is probably 10 feet long. The Adkins home, the pipe is probably 80 feet long. So we picked one that was a real long distance and one that was a short distance, but both of them have the same reading. So we'll keep doing this for a while, but I think this tends to show that when we had problems in the past, it wasn't the fault of what was happening inside of the pipe, it was the fault of the system not working right. We'll keep gathering that kind of data. Okay, the next page is a tentative budget for this new go after and get more money kind of thing. And the thought is that we would try to do another 20 systems. We think that most of them are going to be direct discharge, but it sounds like the DEP would let us do 2 kinds of technology. So we wanted, if we could keep it in the ground, we would want to do that. We're just sort of estimating what all these costs would be, especially with construction, because that would be something that would be bid, and then the final budget would happen. Things that are a little bit different from the last time, besides the fact that we have 2 technologies. One of the things we're talking about with the upgrades, you all gave me the name of somebody from Appalachian Power to talk to about the fact that we've got these power surges out there. One of the things we think might help, because this area just